I stand today to discuss this issue, which I've referred to in passing during other debates in this chamber. Usually I bring it up in the context of some cut or other which is adversely affecting individuals and groups in the state. Therefore, I welcome this opportunity to discuss the Croke Park Agreement specifically. As a business owner in the private sector, I'm fully aware of the need to have peaceful and positive industrial relations in order to run an efficient business. In this regard, it amazes me that we don't see our trade unions protesting outside the gates of this complex on a regular basis in light of the economic situation we find ourselves in. This leads me to question why the unions are so timid in their objection to current policies being followed. I can only draw one conclusion why this is the case. The Croke Park Agreement favours and protects the best interests of the unions, and they do not wish to rock the boat for the fear of less favourable conditions for their membership. My question for the Minister and the government parties is very simple. As a country, can we afford the Croke Park Agreement any longer? I think we're all in agreement that the Irish public sector needs major reforms urgently. However, it is my belief that the Croke Park Agreement is not the tool or the mechanism to achieve meaningful and real reform of our public service. With each passing day, we are seeing mounting problems within our state-provided services. I mean, only last evening I had somebody in this very house who's working here as an intern. Her sister has a child in Walkinstown with Prader-Willi syndrome, which is the most sad and awful syndrome that any family could be struck with. That family at the moment have two wonderful social workers. One is an absolute brilliant person on nutrition and on how to guide this baby going forward to achieve a good result, and the other is a social worker who's laying out a plan. Both those people are taking their redundancy packages, and you Minister, you've heard countless cases, and I won't go into any more detail, but it's just a disgrace, and I mean this family are just left wondering how they are going to cope. It's my contention that the two main areas where the Croke Park Agreement falls down are in the flexibility that the agreement permits and the speed in which reforms are introduced. What is required is a private sector ideology within our public services to deliver efficient and timely services despite shrinking budgets. Take, for example, the unfolding situation with the retirements on the 29th of February of 7,700 public servants. While it's clear we need to reduce the numbers employed drastically as part of any reform, one has to question seriously this voluntary scheme. I mean, what genius came up with the date of the 29th of February? Just imagine for one moment that we're running a school. And I mean, imagine for one moment, I don't have to imagine, I have a boy doing his leaving cert. I mean, imagine the administration it's going to take to make those teachers redundant on the 29th of February, and we all know they have to be rehired at, I hope, the same cost to keep those children, you know, grinded and taught properly to achieve their very stressful leaving result, exam results in June. But honestly, I mean, if we were running a business like we would be running a school, it to me would just spell disaster. We hear government representatives stating that this voluntary package was the brainchild of the last government and we inherited it. This may be true, and one of the early senators said. However, the current government has been in power for almost a year and free to make changes at any time they wish to the terms and conditions, which they've chosen not to do, and the flaws are numerous. For instance, the fact there's no compulsory element to this round of redundancy is ludicrous. At the end of the month, we'll be losing hundreds of highly skilled people in specialised areas with no way of replacing them without fresh recruitment, which involves an additional financial and stressful outlay. This could have been avoided if redundancies had been targeted at areas within the public service where there is excess. I mean, again, just thinking, and I know, Minister, you said private, public sector, you hear this all the time, but just taking a small business like mine, 100 people. In 2008, when I was, you know, the world economy collapsed and the currencies went crazy, and I had to make, you know, a 25% cut in my workforce. But my gosh, Minister, if I had said, right, we'll have voluntary redundancies. 25% of us have to go, so 25% of you can choose to make yourself redundant. Well, I don't know how the public sector are coping, because Lily O'Brien's would have been gone, would have crashed to the ground, because I know for sure some of the people that have been with me 12 and 14 years, my financial controller or even my CEO, might have been the ones to come forward. We just couldn't have gone forward. You couldn't run a business like that. So I just fail to understand the thinking behind.
30 seconds, okay.
30 seconds, my gosh. Increments. I just quickly will say, Minister, I just noticed the Irish Times Wednesday, December 7th, that you stated the government is expected to pay out between 250 million and 300 million in the year ahead in increments for public service staff who are due to move up a further point in their pay scale. You said the issue of increments for pay staff in public services may well have to be revisited. And I really want to ask you about that, because again, I would love to work in the public service because my job is safe for life, my increments are there, and I do hope you're going to revisit that area, Minister. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.